Okay, so if you are new here, I've got a little bit of a surprise for you. I do something super controversial, which is a $99 ACT course, which actually covers a lot of classes and it's co-taught with another instructor at different times. But long story short, this is going to be a glimpse into our math ACT June course, and hopefully you learn something. And if you want to join one of our $99 courses coming up, I'll go ahead and link it below. But regardless, get your calculator out, get something to write with, and be ready to learn some ACT math. Okay, let's get started now. And we've got a lot to do today. I will save some time for questions. Some questions I can kind of answer as I go along, some it'll be at the end. So let's do it. Okay, so let's talk about calculators. You do not have to remember every single word on this page. The whole goal of this page is to just highlight, please, if you are taking especially the paper test, you need a graphing calculator. I'm sorry to say this, but you are at a serious disadvantage if you show up with a scientific calculator on test day. And I sit and I take the test in high schools and I see kids all the time either show up without a calculator and have to borrow a scientific one or just bring a scientific. Like if you are able to get a graphing calculator, borrow one, and understand how to use it, you will do so much better on the test if you apply it. And I'm not saying just the programs, like I'm a big program person. But with the graphing calculator, you're able to see your errors better. You're able to use negative signs better. You're able to use y equals better. Please. And I honestly just recommend Texas Instruments. I am not sponsored by them, though they did gift me something. And for those who have been asking me about other graphing calculators, we're going to nerd out for a second. I'm working on a YouTube video. I'm really excited. I got NumWorks. I don't know how to use it yet. I got the TI Inspire and I got the Casio, like the Casio one. For fun, can you tell me in the chat what calculator you plan to bring on test day? What is the calculator you plan to bring? Evo. Yay, Evo. By the way, Evo, I'm still chugging through their graphing calculator programs. They have to be coded in Python, so it's taking me a little bit of time. So yeah, Desmos. Okay, cool. Yeah, if you plan to use Desmos that is built in to the ACT, you need to walk in holding a calculator in your hand. And I'm not trying to pick on you, but there's got to be a calculator in your hand on test day, even if you plan to use Desmos. And the reason is, well, it's actually two reasons. One, the ACT is actually designed to they're pretty much partners with Texas Instruments, for lack of better words. And so it's actually designed not to be solved well with Desmos. And so it's not going to help you a ton. Although I love Desmos, I make SAT courses about Desmos. Um, on the flip side of things, there's been so many glitches as well with Desmos in the ACT. So show up with a calculator. Yes, Evo is good for the digital test. Inspire. I have the Inspire because this is part of my video I'm working on. I feel like a dummy with it. I've got to figure it out. I'm just not used to the mouse. Okay. Inspire is banned. The Inspire is not banned. The Inspire with CAS, CAS is banned. That's the difference. And feel free to double check the website. Okay, moving on. I made my point. This is another thing. You do not have to memorize. I do have this on the Google Doc, I believe. I need to put it on think if I did not put it there already. Long story short, slope. Please know this. These are basic ones. Slope intercept form, y equals mx plus b, quadratic formula, those come up, exponent rules. These are just like some high level things that I see coming up on the ACT. This does not cover everything. And there's also some key things, and we'll get to talking about it in a little bit, but you can, and this photo did not turn out well. There are some like key solvers like Polysmol 2 and some other kind of features in your graphing calculator you can use. Okay. So I've kind of broken this up into like just different math topics. So who took the April test? Who took the April test? Oh, I'm seeing that number go up really fast. Oh my goodness. Okay. Woo, Nelly. I'm guessing that's why you're bad. That's why you're here. You took the April test. You might have lost to the April test, and that's okay. It's okay if you lost. Oof. Okay. I took February. Okay. And the reason I'm bringing up the April test, I didn't take February. Sadly, I actually signed up, but my whole family had the flu. It was not great. Um, so on the April test, they went ham with statistics, like absolutely insane. So we've got to focus on that. Okay. Thank you, Ella. Let's keep going. So, how do we get the calculator formulas to our calculator from this PowerPoint or the Instagram? There is a separate calculator course. I haven't linked in the portal. Some of you guys have already got that. Those are like downloadable programs. The stuff in the PowerPoint is more like just general, like remember these formulas. You are not allowed to put a formula sheet in your graphing calculator. So just be cautious there. Okay, so these are high level statistics things. And if you're like, why on earth is she covering sixth grade topics with this as a college entrance test? The amount of times I have sat with a student who is in AP calculus that cannot remember mean, median, mode is a lot. It's a whole lot. And these questions do come up, not every time, but mean is just the average. Same thing. Median is the middle number. If you drive a car, you know what a median is. And mode is going to be the number that appears the most frequently. Standard deviation, if you have taken statistics, it's a little different. I mean, it's the same concept. They're not going to ask you to calculate the standard deviation. What they will sometimes expect you to know, and not on every test, is that it's pretty much how far away it is from the mean. It's kind of the high level. Okay, so let's get to the meat of what we want to do. So we're going to be practicing. Let me pause my timer. And we're going to add some more time to this too. I have chosen some strategic related statistics and probability questions that I've sprinkled throughout. And I've chosen these because they can be applied to a lot of questions on the ACT. So there's going to be some statistics and probability, and then you'll see we're going to transition to some other topics. So go ahead and attempt this one. And let's see. Some of y'all might be having deja vu from this question. Okay, if you cannot find the portal, I'm going to drop the email address that solves all the portal questions. And it's actually not my email address. It's info@NicevilleTutoring.com. It's on our website. Stephanie is her name. So if you email her, tell her that she is wonderful when you email her, but she will help you get on the portal. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Well, well, okay. Let's work through this one. Ooh, Nelly. So, number five, students voted either option A or B. For every vote option A received, option B received 4 votes. Given that there was a total of 20 votes, well, I can't read apparently, how many votes did option B receive? So, let's break this down in simple terms. So, we've got a total of 20. And then if we're asking ourselves, who has more votes? Well, option B received 4 votes for every one option A did. So we're not going to fancy math this out, but here's kind of the summary here. If there's a total of 20 votes and we needed to count this up, we could technically go like 4, 4, 4. This is a little hypothetical. And then 1, 1, 1. If you add it all up, that's going to be 20, which means option B is going to be D16. I'm sorry if I gave y'all flashbacks to the April ACT, but this is one of those questions that was on there. Okay, I see some chat stuff. Okay, let's keep going. You got this, guys. Let's do it. Now that we're warmed up. I need to add more time to this question. We'll get a little closer to timing. By the way, you technically have like 66 seconds per question on the ACT math. So we're going to kind of do that a little bit, but realistically, some questions you spend more time on, some you spend less. All gonna get this right. I'm gonna cross my fingers. Oh, okay, that's not bad. Those we got an improvement on our statistics. Okay. Not a dumb question. I have the April ACT, I believe, in the Thinkific portal, and that same email address, if you're not able to get on there, but I'm gonna double check that it is on there after this. I just can't check right now. Okay, so not bad. Not bad. So let's kind of talk about some traps with the statistics questions. Is for one, the way we're doing math today is kind of a way I prefer to do it is where we like put questions, we attempt math questions, and then we kind of layer strategies as we go. So here is like your quote unquote math strategy. So the statistics on the ACT is really just going to be testing basic level statistics. AP Stat is not required. I've not seen student scores magically go up because they take AP Stat. So please don't stress about it. So they're mostly testing middle school statistics and some like probability stuff that was heavy in algebra 2. So what they're doing here is they are trying to distract you. So your strategy should be a couple things. One is if it's this long, yes, they are trying to distract you. So let's kind of skim it. And I'm always focusing on the end to figure out what they are asking for. And the last part of it is where I would start. He should calculate one of the following statistics to find this estimate. Which one should he calculate? So if I read the last sentence and it doesn't tell me exactly what I'm looking for, then I back up a little bit. The researcher wants to use the sample data to estimate the mean number of days that the population stayed in Spain. So this actually pretty much gives away, just reading those two sentences, F, they want the mean of the sample. If I need to verify it, I would look at the top. A tourism researcher randomly sampled 783 tourists from the population of tourists that visited Spain during the summer. He recorded how many days each sampled tourist stayed in Spain. The researcher wants to use this sample data to estimate the mean number of days. So they are just giving you massive hints through this. So, one, focus on the end of these long questions. And then here is another big thing going on. They're trying to stress you out. So, what I mean by that is the ACT loves to randomly throw in some big words to kind of lure you in. They're like, huh, that's a real big word there. They're going to think because this is a really hard test that they're going to go for a big word that they don't know. And I'm sorry if you chose age, that's kind of what they were hoping for you to do. Uh, and then median is just middle number, and the median of the sample divided by the sample size is kind of irrelevant there. Okay, let's keep going. Nope, we do not have to know what variance is. You're good. All good. They were just trying to trick you. Okay, this dumb question has been on both the October and the April ACT. You got this. Let's do it. Okay. Let's see what our percentages are. 40%. Okay, that was a little bit of a decrease. Okay, so I know some of the traps on this. I've taught through this one quite a few times. When I saw this on the test, I was like, "Oh, I know this question." I didn't even read it, and I circled and move on just because it haunts me. So this question right here is kind of testing your probability skills. So change that color there. So a certain committee is composed of 11 juniors and 79 seniors. Two different members of the committee will be randomly selected, each for a different leadership role. Given that the first member selected is a junior, what is the probability that the second member is going to be a senior? So if you kind of math this out, let's just write it, type it. So you got 11 juniors. And then you've got 79 seniors. And so we know that our bottom number or our original number is going to be 90 students, which is going to be the bottom of the fraction, but I'm not done yet. So it says, given that the first member selected is a junior, what is the probability that the second member selected will be a senior? So they are not saying that they will put the kid back. So your number has to change. So your new number is going to be 89. And then since they didn't remove any seniors, it's going to be 79 is going to be that numerator there. So it's going to be H. Okay. Okay. Yep. Henry, you're just restating. Cool. Try to keep an eye on the chat when I can. Where did you get 89? Yep. Um, because the so the first round they pulled out a kid, and so that's how you got 89. Now, if they said they had put the kid back, which wouldn't make sense in this scenario, then yes, like you would need 90. Okay, so let's go into a lot of people's worst nightmare, which is geometry. I don't know. Everybody has different feelings about geometry. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Here is what is going to get you in a pickle. If you cannot do Pythagorean theorem, please, please, please learn that. And then you got to know how to do an area of a triangle. There's some other formulas coming up. Please know how to do these basic formulas. And you're like, this is basic. I know this. Yes, but there's other kids who do not or who have forgotten it. So I always highlight these. And then some of interior angles, these sometimes come up, but the big things you have to know is you have to know a triangle is 180 degrees, and you have to know a circle is 360, and anything that's four sides is going to be 360 as well. And then more on geometry, and you don't have to write this all down. The big things that I see, and there's a lot in the slide, I tend to fill up way more than like actually needed because you guys can go back and look at it later. That is a terrible highlighter color. Okay, there we go. Is this one right here is circle, area, and circumference. We got to know our circles. We got to be friends with our circles. They will come and find you. And then equation of the circle. They love these. This right here, it is actually embedded in your conics section if you have a TI 84 plus. It's also in the Evo too. But they do have this formula in there. I kind of put the instructions on there. It's like apps, then conics. It's used to graph, but it does have it in there. And then what most mess like most kids up is if it's got the negative sign, since it's built into the formula, um, then like it's going to be like 1, 2, and you can't read that super well, and that would be a positive center. And then equation of the ellipse sometimes comes up, sometimes doesn't. I've seen it kind of sneak in there, but that can be found in your conics section. They're not going to ask you always to like regurgitate this, but they will pretty much, they'll kind of call on you to remember it. Let's see if I'm going to check real quick. I have a smart view calculator that we might be able to see. Sometimes it has attitude though. So I'm going to see if I can show you real quick what I'm talking about with the conics. Maybe. Okay, it's loading. So let's see. Maybe. Cool. It didn't get us stuck in the spinning wheel of death. So mine is going to look slightly different, but this is very similar for all like the TI-84s. So what I'm talking about is when you click apps, and then I'll go ahead and highlight a couple while we're in here. So on apps, conics, enter, circle. Please do not use this to graph during the test. This is if you cannot remember this formula and there's a question related to it. Let me check my chat in just a second. And then we'll go second quit. Okay, and then also I've talked about this before, I believe so. This like polysmalt 2, this has like 2 different kind of solvers in there as well. It's good to play around with this. Okay, let's see what the chat's saying. Including trig and identities of trig. Conics is an apps number 4. I think you're asking like identities of trig. We will get there. There's some light ones, but they're not going to be in your calculator. No. With the other trig stuff. SOHCAHTOA also falls in like geometry kind of in trig. That comes up. But we will get there. Okay, equation of a circle. Y'all got this. Let's see. See if you're listening. Oh no. Oh, we gotta double check this. I'm kind of hoping that you're gonna think this sounds weird. I'm kind of hoping like maybe I clicked the wrong button when I was keying the answers, but we'll see. Okay, so this one right here. mm, okay, the correct answer on this one is gonna be B. Let's see if I keyed it wrong. Oh, I did. Okay, that's good news. Okay, so a lot of y'all got it right. I'm sorry if it marked you wrong. That was my bad. So let's kind of go over this one.
What the fuck?
So on this one here, because the equation is x minus h squared, it should have that negative sign there with B. I need a not right with yellow. And then this one right here should be negative, and that reflects a -4. And radius is 5 squared, so it's going to be 25. So B is correct. And it sounds weird. I'm glad that it was keep wrong because I was having a little bit of a heart attack that we all missed that one, but I feel better now. It's all good. Okay, I saw some questions coming up. Okay, so let me get through these questions. How do I quickly exit out of an app? It depends on your calculator. A lot of times I click that blue second button and then quit. That tends to get out of most of the apps on at least the TI-84. I think the Evo as well. Or the home screen on the Evo as I'm like looking over. Cosine, cotangent, cosecant, secant, don't worry about those. I haven't seen those come up all on the enhanced ACT. So it's the opposite. Second quit next to it. Okay, cool. I think I got through them. Okay, so here is actually more of the trig stuff, and a lot of geometry teachers cover this too. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you view this as trig or geometry. It is what it is. So that being said, here's kind of our key things we need to know is SOHCAHTOA, like please know SOHCAHTOA. I am not going to give a deep SOHCAHTOA crash course right now because so many kids know it. And what I have learned helps a lot of students because they're like, yeah, I know that. But then they mix it up in their dang head. So if you get a question on this, especially if you're taking the paper test, I need you to write that dang word on your test because you are less likely to mess it up or on your scratch sheet, whatever, because you will tell me that you know it, and then you'll mix it up in your head because you're kind of feeling panicked. So these right here, you don't really have to memorize. I'm going to touch on these as we go. And I think I actually underplanned for math today, so I might be pulling up some hard questions at the end, hopefully. What we're going to talk about a little bit is amplitude and period. I do have a calculator program for this, but some of the amplitude ones are really easy. It's going to be the front number when it says like sine or cosine, and the period you can kind of hack through. But a lot of times, if they're asking through the period, then it will just have a picture. The other thing to think about is law of cosines, and hopefully we have time to get to this. I didn't see this on the April test, but I've seen it on quite a few. You don't have to memorize this, but I will hopefully have time to show you in practice. But this is kind of like a high level of what I've been seeing. For a while, like when they first released the enhanced ACT, like every dang test had law of cosines, but then they started going into law of sines. Because why not? Okay, so let's find this amplitude of a function. Hopefully, you find this as a freebie, but if not, I will show you how it is at the end. Okay, let's see. Oh, look at y'all. You knew this. So if you didn't know this, whenever it's asking the amplitude on the test, it's actually really a freebie. Just look at the front number and then move on. Amplitude, G, front number. And if you're like, I don't know what amplitude means, well, it does matter, but it doesn't matter for the test at this point. If you really want to find out, I would go down the YouTube rabbit hole of amplitude and period, which is exactly what you guys want to do in your free time, I'm sure. Yes, I've got a lot of sarcasm. Okay, so this is where I'm going to add more time. This is where SOHCAHTOA is going to come and haunt you. So go ahead and try this one, please. Okay, let's see. Okay, that was not a bad split. So let's go over this. I'm not going to write SOHCAHTOA up right now because hopefully we have that kind of in our brain since I said that about 4,000 times. Okay, so this one right here is a really kind of common style SOHCAHTOA question where it's not super straightforward and you got to do some solving. So if you have the length BC is 9 inches, the measure of angle A is 70 degrees, which of the following expressions gives the length in inches of AC? So obviously we're using tangent, which is the opposite over adjacent. So we got to be thinking that we need to find out and kind of think through some of this stuff. So right here, we've got this, we've got this. And what I typically do is mark it with an X, and I see that chat going off. I will get there in a second. So let's go ahead and call this X. I just think it's easier to think through. So what we need to kind of talk about is how this all lines up. So with tangent, and we know it's tangent of 70 degrees. Our adjacent is going to be the one that's pretty much right next door. And what I mean by that, it's really just right next door. And then our opposite should be 9. So you've got 9 divided by x. And the way that you need to simplify this is you pretty much need to solve for x. You've got to clear out x on both sides. So you pretty much multiply by x. And what that turns into, let me get my key there. So that would be x tangent of 70 equals 9, which we are clearly not done. And then you need to do the last thing, which is you're going to divide by tangent of 70, making the answer A, which I think a majority of y'all got.